Hello everybody and welcome to Nathan on Shuffle and to my latest episode of New Album Spotlight. This is the show where I put the spotlight on a new album in progressive rock that I want to showcase and let you guys know about it and see if it's something you guys want to go check out. So I'm always here to support the artist, always here to present to you great music that I think is just as good as the classic era. And I have a really fun album to talk to you guys about this time. I'm going to keep this show fairly short because this is really an album of material that's already been released before, but somewhat repurposed, repackaged, and redone in a different way. So it's a little bit of a unique choice here, but I think it's well worth talking about because of how much I love it and adore this record. So this is Ingenious Devices by Big Big Train, and I actually have this one on record to showcase. Ingenious Devices, Big Big Train. This is the vinyl. Really fantastic. Beautiful gatefold as usual. Really fantastic. So, and it comes in a really cool colored vinyl. This is like a sky blue, really cool blue colored vinyl. Let me show you. So Big Big Train, to me, don't really require much background because most people who are watching the channel are already fans and know about Big Big Train, but they're one of the best modern progressive rock bands that really harken back to that classic symphonic style, to that Genesis style sound, yes, and all of the masters of the genre you hear baked in, but they have their own unique style as well. This is a compilation of some of their biggest epic length songs, but really beefed up in a new version, in a new way. The tracks are rearranged with a 17-piece string section. East Coast Racer, the first track, is a completely new studio version recorded by the lineup of the band as it was in 2019. Brooklyn's features newly recorded drums, bass, and bass pedals, and Voyager includes additional guitar and violin. So you get a lot of different elements being added and sprinkled throughout these pieces. And then you also get a live version of Atlantic Cable, which is sung by their new singer, Alberto Bravin. So you get a little bit of a taste into the future of the band also, and a live recording. So, and there's an orchestral piece, the Book of Ingenious Devices, which really bridges the gap between East Coast Racer and Brooklyn's, creating this really nice suite of music. So it's really beautifully done, and these tracks sound as vibrant and fresh as they ever had. Just the moment I put on the record, I was just really blown away by how crisp and clean and modern the sound was. The orchestral flourishes of the strings just add another layer of beauty to an already beautiful listing of tracks here. On East Coast Racer in particular, the musicians are just on fire. You could hear the passion in what they're playing. The brass section in combination with the strings is just a magnificent symphonic soundscape here. This track in and of itself is really like the defining statement of the band. And there's been so many different versions throughout the years that have been featured throughout their albums. They've done it live at most shows that they've ever played, I think. It's just one of their signature pieces, and you could tell why hearing it in its freshest form on this album. It's just beautiful. The oomph of power in the bass towards the climax with blasting horns and sumptuous strings, and David Lungden singing, where he sings that She Flies section, is just another level epic moment, up there with all of the best, most goosebump-inducing moments of any progressive rock band. Just transcendent, and you get a masterful solo from Dave Gregory, which he performs in the live version, but hadn't been a part of the regular studio track until now. So taking a classic track that people already adored and loved and making a new version that's basically replaces that version and is now the definitive thing is a really exciting feat by the band that they're able to pull that off. And I think it's done brilliantly and beautifully. Like I said, the Book of Ingenious Devices is a instrumental orchestral piece, really utilizing those strings before we get into Brooklyn's, which has always been one of my favorite pieces, and I wish it was regarded in the same rarefied air as East Coast Racer. I think it's fantastic coming from the Folklore album, and this version of it really brings it to life even more so. More power and vibrancy, before we get Lungden's sumptuous vocals accentuated by the beautiful addition of the string section. I love the Lucky Man section with those strings in the backing. It's just such a gorgeous sound. The instrumental section after that is just a powerhouse, giving a new life and vibrancy. I love the drumming. I love all of the added texture and sounds with those strings. Just one of my favorite Big Big Train moments, somehow made even grander through this version of the record. And then Voyager comes in, which probably is the one that sounds most close to the original that was featured on Grand Tour, but it's still a beautiful track and still fits well within these other epics. A little bit of a touch-up with added violin and guitar, and it's just a beautiful symphonic slice of epic progressive rock that just still sounds completely beautiful and is done really well and fits as the last piece of this trilogy in great fashion. And then you get a cool track, Atlantic Cable, a live version, which gives you a chance to see the band in its current form. It sounds powerful and rocking, sounds really crisp and clean. I'm not a really big fan usually of live albums because I feel like the studio tracks just always are the more definitive version and more carefully crafted, and sometimes with live versions you hear a lot of the more raw energy, which some people like, but to me, I like to hear the more polished version. I feel like that's more definitive and what they intended for you to hear and intended to put together, where the live version is fun to go experience when you watch it live, but not as fun for me to just listen to audio without seeing the performance and getting to feel that excitement from the actual band. But somehow they're able to capture that here in a brilliant fashion. Really incredible introduction to Alberto Bravin. I think it was a really smart decision by the band to pick a piece that's more recent, where people don't have such a strong connection to David Lungden's version of the track, especially in a live setting. I don't believe David Lungden ever was able to perform this one live. So Alberto Bravin just does a fantastic job. He's able to pay homage to the past, but able to bring his own fresh new style to it, where it doesn't feel like a carbon copy of David Lungden. I think that was a smart decision by the band, that they didn't just bring in a David Lungden clone type singer, but they brought in someone who sounds very different, but is able to really evoke the same emotional response and is just fantastic in his own right, but in his own way. So this remains faithful to the original to me. It sounds fantastic. The playing is off the chart. And it sounds great for a live version. It just sounds pristine, as this whole record does. The pressing on the vinyl is just absolutely masterful. It sounds perfect, and I'm just a total fan of this. I was going to dismiss this record a bit, like, oh, I'm more looking forward to new material from the group, and to just put together a compilation of stuff I've heard before. I'm like, that's probably not going to be all that interesting, but it's wonderful. It's a great way to pay homage to some of their best material in this David Lungden era, and I'm glad that I have it, and I think it works really well as a whole piece to put these epics together. They're all related thematically, and it plays off really well, and they did touch these up to make these better versions with enough differences for the diehard fans like me to really have things catch your ear and make it much more interesting than if I just took a playlist of these tracks from their studio versions and put it together. I think this is the superior version and just comes with so much love and passion from the band crafting this together into a really great piece of work and a great stopgap, a great piece to tide us over till they inevitably release a new album, I would hope, in 2024. So that's what I have for you guys today. I hope you guys like this album if you've heard it or are willing to check it out. If you don't know Big Big Train, they're one of the premier modern prog acts that I think are necessary to listen to really explore the scene and to get some appreciation. I think there's so much to enjoy for all fans of progressive rock. So thank you guys for joining me. Hopefully you appreciated this review, and I hope to catch you guys in a future episode. Thank you, everybody. Bye.